Hi, good morning. I will try my hardest to make this very quick. This is a tutorial of the new baby rose that I have. So I'm gonna make two versions, the largest I mean, and the smallest. So the way how I lay out it in an 8.5 by 11 is like this one. So on a sheet of 8.5 by 11, I can make one of the largest and then three of the smallest, which means uh, in every one large baby rose, I'm gonna have five of the smallest. So you don't really have to do this one, the smaller version, or you can just cut. If you're in a hurry, you can just cut the largest, but I want to utilize all the space on the paper, so that's why I try to use everything as much as possible. If you don't need this size, you can just go ahead and assemble the larger one and keep this one for future use, because this one is gonna be it's very good in like small, like in shadow box, or even in uh, like filler of massive monogram. So I just really don't want to waste this side here. That's why I made this way. So anyway, in each flower we need 5 pieces of this 5 pieces of the flower, of the petal. So let's go ahead and start with a large one. So out of 5, let's go ahead and take 2, and what we are going to do is curl it like so. So by doing this one, we are just aiding it, so later it has already a form of its own, and we don't have to have hard time shaping it in a more natural rose like. So I'm just pressing it like this, and this is the smallest dowel rod I have, so you can use whatever curling material. But for me, as if you're following all my tutorials, it's dowel rod is my preference. So you see this line here, let's go ahead and just fold the petal upward, all of the 5, like so. And then out of the 5, let's select 2 opposing parts with 2 sides here and 1 side facing to you. And let's try to hug these 2 together. Just like an ordinary rose, and secure it. The larger one is the much easier rose to assemble. The tiny one is a bit tricky, but I'm gonna show you also how to assemble that. So now that you have the 2 hugging each other, you see this open part here, so we are trying to hug this other side also, which would fill up the gap in this area. So basically we're just eyeballing which part is empty, or needs to feel that it would look more natural, the way how rose buds are. So with this one, I'm gonna do one side at a time, and you need to hold it with a good number of seconds before you let go, because especially if it's like not a very smooth one, but like I'm not sure if you are familiar with how the texture of a recycled paper would feel like. It's more likely that if you don't hold it in a good number of seconds, it would come off, and you know, you would lose the grip of your petals towards your bud. So now let's go ahead, since this one is the open area, let's go ahead and pull this one upward and then hug it to your bud. So you know what I like most about this new baby rose design? It's because it's very dense, yet it doesn't consume too much paper, which, you know, if you use this one as a filler to your paper flower wall, your wall would really looks so luxurious because of how dense it is. So that's it, down to the last piece, last petal by the way. And there it is. So now on our second piece, so with the second piece, what I am going to do is to, you know, curl it with, this is a barbecue stick, so I'm just curling one side outward like so. So I don't use a dowel rod on this one, since the petal is not very small, but you know, tiny enough that if you'd use a dowel rod, with the dowel rod that I have, it's not gonna look very nice. So the way how I would want to put it in here is, you know, parallel to the pentagon or the 5 sides that I have here, like so. So let's go ahead and put some glue and just so this is our last piece here, or our last, or the open area. So it's either we are going to pull this one upward first or this one, so either of the two would be fine, but I'm gonna go ahead and take this one upward, and we're gonna glue the petals. The way how we glue it is like alternate to one side on top of the others, so it's supposed to be like this one, but let's go ahead and just glue this one side first. So this is only applicable for the very first petal that you are doing, so it will be like one on top of the others. We have to keep this one open so we can sneak this last piece here, like so. So, but on the second and onward, we can go ahead and glue one side first. That's how I recommend it, so you can really have a full control. But if you feel like you can, you know, you can just go ahead and glue both sides together. So that's how it looks now. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with the third, fourth, and the fifth. So this is how I glue it with the you know, both sides together. So the way how I do it is in this edge here and below the curl, so we can still see our curl on the sides, because if we're going to glue this one, we would lose the curl that we made. And now, see, this is the reason why we need to keep this one open, so we can sneak it and keep the integrity of putting this one like one petal atop of the others. So let's just go ahead. This is a sneaky part, so I would recommend that this last piece, you would really take your time, and I know our fingers would not really reach there, so go ahead and get whatever like stick. In my part, I'm using this screw just to press it to make sure that it's secure, and then we can go ahead and glue the sides. And now we can close this area here like so. So you see how this bud looks like? Really, really nice. So now, with our remaining 3 layers, we're gonna go ahead and curl this one together, just the same thing as what we did with our first 2. Just curl it. Soft curl, by the way. Not like, you know, the very harsh one. Just enough that it would bend. It has a curl inward. So like so. So now on our 3rd petal, let's leave this one last, but on the 3rd and the 4th, we're gonna go ahead and curl these 2 together, one side outward and one side inward. So do it with all the 5 petals. And the good thing about this template is that, you know, it's one piece, so you really you won't have very much hard time trying to attach it together and trying to make it balance. And if you are having an SVG file, you know, you can also go ahead and do this same method with a 12 by 12 paper, which is that would mean that, you know, it's gonna be a large flower. So our petal is now curled, so let's save this one later. And if earlier when we place the bud to our next petal, it's parallel to the old one, I think we're gonna do the same. So just go ahead and make a cross and like so. And now we are going to put glue on the side, just a little dab very close to the base. So like so. And you don't have to do anything special with this one. Just put some glue, you know, enough to stick. And I really, really love the way how the texture of this rose looks like. And by the way, this was made just, you know, last week out of, I wouldn't call it accident, but like one of my repeat customer, she's very nice, she's such a darling, but you know, she's very particular with what she wants. She saw this, she loves to travel, so she saw this rose display on one boutique in Paris, and she showed me the picture, and she said, I really want, you know, a set of paper flowers, but I don't want the one that you're doing, which are, you know, the large ones. I want, you know, like a smaller ones, at most 8 inches, and it's gonna be like 13 pieces. So I was trying to figure out, you know, how can I do it with all my existing petals, and I really don't think it would work, because more of the challenge, she wants it all on the same design. So that's how this petal created. So another business advice, you know, if you are just starting, make it sure that you really would have to embrace the challenge, and you would be surprised, you know, what yourself can do. So now that it's done, we can go ahead and place this one on the next bud, but this time, instead of being parallel to the this although you can, it would make it easier, you know, do it parallel, or we can also put our tip here at the center, like so. So let's do that. So as you can see, you see the corner now here, it's now in, you know, in the middle of our new layer. So let's just go ahead and put this one into our hug this to our bud. Like so. And as I said, you know, it would really require that you would give it a good number of seconds before you would let it go. So you would really feel secure that the grip that it has on the bud is strong enough. And I'm really liking it, how it looks like right now. So, by the way, maybe you're wondering, you know, my voice isn't as loud as the usual. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning right now while I'm filming this. So again, if you didn't see how I glue it, just little dab of glue to where the very close to the base, and just press it like so. And down to the last piece. Sorry. So I'm trying to finish this tutorial because we're traveling again. My husband has some occasional business trip, and it's all our agreement that, you know, I'll be coming along. So it's not just, you know, pure work, but also we have time together. So if you are making a paper flower wall, you don't have to put the last layer. You can really just do this one like this. So it looks really nice already, but for the sake of this tutorial, let's continue doing the 5th layer. So the 5th layer, what we're going to do is curling both sides outward, like so. So for me, you know, with the size of petal, the ideal tool to use to curl the sides is this stick, barbecue stick. So again, the same thing with the 4th layer. Instead of being parallel, we're going to center the corner to the next layer. So let's go ahead and put across and just make it as center as you can, like so. And now we can go ahead, the same thing with the 4th. We can just go ahead and dab some glue and try to press it upward, but with a nice layer like this. You know, not as flat as this one, but also not as tight in here. So you would see the layer. So the good thing about this rose is that you can absolutely put this one on a stick, and I'm gonna, or a stem, not a stick, because the stem doesn't necessarily have to be wood. You know, sometimes wire wood really works best. So just pressing it upward, you know, to create a 3-dimensional effect on the flower instead of just leaving it flat like this one. So almost there. So this is like a 7 inches flower, and all you need is 5 sheets of cardstock. So in 5 sheets of cardstock, you can have 5 of this large one, and oh, it comes off, and 1 of the large one and 5 of the small ones, and you will see the size of the small ones later. If it's really hot, you know, you can aid in speeding the glue to stick by, you know, just blowing it. So we're on our 4th petal, and again it's a bit stubborn. Well, it did come off, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it all over again. move down to our last petal. So you know that it's ready. I know it's hot, but you really have to hold it. But when you feel, you know, the hotness is gone, that means it's, you know, secure. So now we have our rose. Look at that. How gorgeous is this one? So it's very, very dense. It's really nice. It would make your wall look luxurious if this is your filler. Like, filler means, like, you know, if you have small gaps that you need to cover, this is the ideal size. So, but if you wanted to hang it, you know, all you need to do is have this small or even smaller, this is like a 2.5. So let's go ahead and use this one, because this is the only one I have available. But I think a 2 inches would work better than a 2.5. So again, if you want to hang this, you need to put hanger on it, and this is a pipe cleaner, by the way. And let's just hang it this way. But as I said, you can also put this flower on a stem, and I'm gonna make a separate tutorial on how to do that. So, but for now, this is good for, you know, when you're hanging this one. But if you just wanted to stick it on a wall, you know, you can eliminate this and put a double-sided tape instead, and just stick it to wherever you want to. So this is the largest, and now let's go ahead and make the smallest. So the smallest is like 2.5 or 2.75 inches. So again, we're using 5 petals here. So let's take the 2, just like the large one. And the curling tools that I'm gonna be using this time is this 3. So this is part of my manicure set. If you have one, I don't know what do you call this stick, but I have, you know, anything that you can find in your house. You don't really have to buy a fancy one. So let's start with, when earlier I was using the dowel rod for the larger rose, this time I'm using the barbecue stick to curl the middle. And the way how I do it is pressing it, you know, from the base upward, like so. And my stick is in between of the 2 and in the middle of the 1 petal that I'm trying to curl. So I would recommend, especially on the larger one, don't press right in the middle here, because there's a tendency that you would rip this side off. So instead, press where the base is first, and then move outward. So that's how it is. By the way, this rose in PDF it has 5 sizes, but in SVG you can really size it however you like. I would give the same general 5 sizes, but as I said, you can size it, you know, multiple times you want. You can even use, you know, as I said, a 12 by 12 inches for this one. So the same thing, we're gonna go ahead and fold the petals upward, like so, and 2 opposing petals with 2 petals, you know, away from you, and 1 petal you know, towards you. So again, hugging these two together. This is really, really tricky because it's a small, very tiny rose. Oh, I mean, very tiny bud. So be very careful. You know, I have lots of hot glue burned, you know, the first time I try out the smallest. It's doable, yes, but you know, this is not my most favorite. I would not do this if I don't have to, but I think I would really have to, because by April I have a bridal shower and she wants me to make a monogram filled with flowers again, so this is a good filler. So again, from the 2 petals, let's go ahead and, you know, have 1 petal and hug it into our bud like so, and give it a good number of seconds before you let go until it completely cools off. So now the lone petal on the opposite side, because it's tiny, make sure that you just have a very small amount of glue, because it would look like a mess if you would overflow it with glue and you have a very tiny petal. Then down to the last one. And also because it's small, it's easier to, you know, glue 2 sides together. So here's our very, very tiny bud. And to our second layer, we're going to curl one side outward, which I'm gonna be using this screw that my husband has in his toolbox. And the way I do it is just curl it around like so, just one side, and you know, it's on your left side, you're facing the petal. So the sides are, one side is curled up, so now we can attach the bud towards our petal. And again, first, second, and the third should be parallel to this pentagon here. So if you have the corner, it should be in these corners too, like so. So let's just dab some glue. And since this is our open area, let's go ahead and get this one here. And the same thing, we need to glue this one in here, this side and below the curl. But let's, on the first petal, let's keep this open so we can snip the last one, you know, with our goal of having it 1 petal atop of the other, kind of layering, so it would look more natural. So with our second petal, we can then go ahead and have a smaller glue on the side and 1 glue below the curl, just glue it. And again, there's gonna be lots of hot glue sacrifices here, because you really cannot help but really touch the hot glue. So I would recommend, you know, just be very extra careful when making the smaller rose. So third, the fourth, I think my fingers just get numb with the burn, so for me it's fine. So again, with the last one, it's a bit tricky, so let's take our time and do it one side at a time, sneaking it in and then aiding it with a push of a smaller, whatever you have to secure it, and then you can glue the other side. Like so. See? So that's our bud now. Isn't it cute? So going to our 3 remaining petals, again the same thing. Let's curl this one and, as I said, start with the base before moving outward. Like so. So depending on the size of the petal, in time you would really learn which kind of curling materials you would use. So for the third and the fourth, we're going to curl the petals one side outward and one side inward. Like so. So done. Let's take our third layer, and again we're gonna stick this one parallel to the bud's corner. Like so. And then let's gonna go ahead and the way how I glue it, because it's so tiny, just put a little glue in the middle and then just push it upward, enough that it would create a good layer in here. So again with the second, you can feel it if it's doable. Like for the 2 smallest I do this, but on the larger one I really make it sure that I have glue on both sides and then glue it upward. But with the smaller ones, you can just put a glue in the middle and then push it upward. Like so. And here's our 3-layer mini rose. Very tiny, very cute, very nice. So moving to our 4th layer, instead of having it parallel, we're going to put our corner in the middle of our petals on the next layer. You know, we're trying to create a window here. So again, just go ahead and put a little glue and push it upward, and push it upward. Same thing, this is the third. So even though I'm pushing the third, I'm still holding the first and the second, so it would ensure that, you know, everything is in place, and you know, I'm still holding it. So even if I'm doing other stuff, make sure that I have you know, it's all glued together and stick into the bud. So isn't it very cute? So when you are filling a monogram, 4 layers would be enough. But if you're going, this can also be used, you know, if you have like party favor, especially on weddings, you can use this as a topper of your boxes. So down to our last layer, and what we're going to do is curling both sides outward. Like so. Then out. Last piece. And again, the same thing with our fourth layer. We're just creating a window here. So we're making it sure that we can see this fifth layer in between our fourth layer. So eyeballing and do it as center as possible, like so. And I think with this size of flower, you don't really need to do anything on it, like gluing it upward, because it's very short. So the petal, see the layer, it's perfect already, that you don't have to push it, or else it gets very congested and close to the fourth layer. So, but this is how, you know, our baby rose looks like. So sometimes with the last layer, I want to have a soft curl instead of really, you know, brutal curl on it. So here are the two pieces, the largest and the smallest, but I'm gonna show you the in-betweens. So these are two different sizes that's in between, and I will make a tutorial on how you can make, you know, put this one on a stick, so you can put it on an arrangement, so watch out for that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys liked the tutorial, and give it a thumbs up if you do. So until next time, bye.